Hey folks, it's us, podcasting wonderkins John Bishop and Lucas Southworth.
Although this is a podcast about cars, it is not age appropriate for the target demographic of these films, as we usually end up talking about the reproductive organs of Lightning McQueen.
Alright, now let's take a look under the hood.
Hello and welcome to the Chat. I'm John Bishop.
And I'm Lucas Southworth.
Now, Lucas, what is the Chat?
I was wondering how you were gonna make the structure work. The Chat is the only podcast brave enough to ask the question, hey, what's up with... Tossing it back to you.
Planes.
There you go. Nice.
2 Fire and Rescue. Planes 2 Fire and Rescue. So, I'm just going to start this episode with a statement that I feel like you disagree with, based on the one sentence that we have exchanged about the thing. But, what was my one prediction, Lucas?
It would be the best of all of them, I think, was your prediction.
I don't think that was what I said.
Better than
but
the first one?
My words, I think, were a weirdly good movie. I think it's going to be a weirdly good movie.
That sounds like something you'd say.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I felt like it was a weirdly good movie. Especially as a follow-up to the weirdly bad Planes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. I didn't love it.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, it's a podcast after all. If you haven't guessed, we watched another movie. What movie did we watch, John?
We watched Planes 2, Fire, and Rescue.
Actually, John, that brings me to corrections.
Oh no.
Every single time so far we have referred to this movie in this podcast, we've referred to it as Planes 2, Fire and Rescue. Please stop playing with whatever you have in your hands.
I actually was setting something down.
Okay. We've referred to it as Planes 2, Fire and Rescue. So much so that one of the first things I remember deciding about this podcast was, wouldn't it be funny if every time we referred to Planes 2, we said, Planes 2, Fire and Rescue, no matter what? But as a matter of fact, the movie is just called Planes, Fire, and Rescue. There's no 2 in the title.
How dare you?
Man, I looked at the box of the Blu-ray I got. I looked it up everywhere. I triple and quadruple checked this. There's no 2 in the title of Planes, Fire, and Rescue.
Okay, so I've looked it up.
Yeah?
It says Planes,
Sure.
Fire and Rescue.
Yeah.
Or I guess you could say Fire, Rescue.
Yeah, if we want to get real exact, it's got that ampersand in there. No numbers at all, huh?
And then you scroll down, and you see, like, the YouTube videos, like the fresh movie trailers. First video you see, Planes 2 Trailer 3. And then you see the next one, YouTube, like, View Cinemas, Planes 2, Fire and Rescue. And then Planes 2, Fire and Rescue. Planes 2, Fire and Rescue. Everyone calls it Planes 2, Fire and Rescue. Except for the people who made it.
Yeah, except for Disney Toon Studios there, huh? I'm not saying it's not an understandable mistake. You'd think it makes sense to me that it would have been called Planes 2 Fire and Rescue, but no, it's just Planes Fire and Rescue, huh?
What is this world?
I'm not misremembering that, right? I remember us like out loud saying every time we say this, we will say Planes 2 Fire and Rescue as like it's not even a joke, but it will be funny to us.
I don't know if we recorded it. We might have, probably did, but we definitely said it at some point.
I think before we record, I think this was before we started the podcast. I think
Oh boy.
somehow in in our pre-planning phase for this podcast, one of the things that we decided was, we'll always say Planes 2 Fire and Rescue, but yeah, that was
That's
wrong.
not the name of the dang film.
It's not, huh? The joke was we were so exact and so knowledgeable about cars that we would always refer to it as the proper name, but we certainly didn't do that.
We really messed that one up real bad.
John, it's 20
Real
episodes into our podcast about a series of movies, and we just learned the name of one of the movies.
Which brings me to a question from Liz.
Good, I don't have one. Go ahead.
Alright, so I'm gonna look up the specific text. Okay, so I'm just gonna read this conversation because you know how I like to not do these segments correctly.
Yeah, I do. Go right ahead.
Okay, so the question is, who decided it was okay to make another movie about animated planes?
Yeah?
But the conversation went on to then be, honestly, I don't know if I've seen Planes 2, so I'm not qualified to ask. To which I responded, we have a podcast about a series of movies that we still haven't seen the entirety of the canon of. That wasn't exactly what I said, but it was close enough.
Yeah.
The response was, I don't know how you do it. And apparently the answer is poorly.
Certainly.
With misinformation that we reinforce heavily.
Yeah, we made a point of saying it a bunch.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to have to go into like some of our stuff on like the website and our Twitter and like our
No, we can't correct it now. It has to stay. If you put anything else, if you change anything, you have to simply add a little asterisk, and then at the bottom of the page be like, we have said this name incorrectly so many times that we cannot correct it on our own website. So, way to go, Internet. We tell you to correct us every single episode, and you have failed. You have failed this podcast.
Yeah, that was a good little era reference. Yeah, you'd think the Internet, known for not taking minor mistakes very well, would have gotten on us for that, but no.
All right, so let's talk about Planes, Fire and Rescue.
It feels wrong to say, doesn't it?
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so difficult. That shouldn't be difficult.
Planes 2 Fire and Rescue has such a nice flow to it. It has a rhyme in it. It feels like it has some sort of like poetic meter to it, which I'm sure it doesn't. I don't know these things. But
apparently we don't even know the name of the movie that we were going to watch.
Yeah. Actually, if I can do one thing real quick before we get into the full talking.
All right, go for it.
The question from Liz asking how another movie of this got made is actually a really good segue into the boogity 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 let's go wiki quoting boys of the day, I guess.
All right.
Which,
give me that boogity 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 quote of the wiki day.
Which is a fan-submitted title for the wiki quote segment, which, I don't know, if you want to do that too, that seems like a fun thing we could start doing. Submit your ideas for, I don't know, yeah, you understand what I'm asking you to do. This one is on en.wikipedia.org/wiki/planes, fire, and rescue, under the section canceled spin-off sequel.
Wait a minute. There was gonna be... No, wait. I'll let you finish.
Yeah. In July 2017 at the D23 Expo, John Lasseter announced that the third film in the Plane series would explore the future of aviation in outer space. Yeah, and that it was being developed by Disney Toon Studios. The film had a release date of April 12th, 2019, but on March 1st, 2018, it was removed from the release schedule. Oh, and furthermore, on June 28th, 2018, Disney Toon Studios was shut down, ending development on the movie.
How many movies did Disney Toon Studios get? Was it the one?
I think they made the first one too, but not a lot. Oh yeah. Well, they made a Goofy movie. That was Goofy movies.
Wait a
like,
minute.
rock solid.
What? They made a Goofy movie?
Yeah.
Did they make an extremely Goofy movie?
You know, I'm not. Yeah, they did. Okay, here we go.
Okay, good, because probably a controversial opinion. I prefer an extremely Goofy movie.
The first one's just so earnest, man, but I do like both of them an awful lot. I have to edge it for Goofy movie there. But mostly what I'm seeing is they made bad straight to video sequels, like Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, The Little Mermaid 2, Return to the Sea, Lady and the Tramp 2, Scamp's Adventure. So, it's not surprising to me that this is the studio that made Planes and Planes Fire and Rescue. But
every time.
I know, bud.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the wiki quote. There was going to be one where they went to space, but it was still going to be in the Planes series, so Dusty probably would have been in it, who is like a 2-seater crop duster. Cool. Sounds pretty cool. Honestly, it sounds pretty cool.
Okay, so let's get into the movie. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
I would love to.
All right. So, initial rating. Go for Johnny.
But my rating, let's see. I think I gave the first one like a 2 or a 3, if I remember right.
I think I gave it a 4.
I think I'd give this one a 4. It was better than the first one, but I didn't like it.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll talk about why a lot, but go ahead and give me your rating.
I'm gonna go for a 6.
I think that's
I'm
what.
gonna go for a 6.
I'm pretty sure that's what you gave Cars 2, which is fair.
Cars 2?
I don't know what you gave
Cars
Cars 2. I don't know.
I want to say I gave Cars 2 a 5, maybe?
Well, don't.
Maybe a 4?
Don't say. I gave Cars 2 a 6? I think I gave it a 5. Like, that's so wild that I would get one number off.
Well, here's my standard for it. I think this movie is, in general, slightly above average. I would not say that about Cars 2.
I wouldn't say it about Planes, Fire and Rescue, but...
I feel like this is a movie that, well, I don't think I would choose to watch it again. If there were a kid who wanted to watch it, I'd be okay with that.
Okay.
So, a 4.
Yeah. No.
A below average movie.
Yes. None of our fans have watched this movie. Let's assume that.
None of our fans have watched this movie.
Yes.
Interesting take.
I
believable.
Yes, I'm saying we should explain the very basic structure of what happens before we spend the next half hour to an hour talking about it.
All right. I believe we mentioned how we think it's silly. The premise is there is an engine mishap and he can no longer be a racer.
Yes.
And this movie tried to explain that away by being silly and saying, "Oh, that part's not manufactured anymore and no one has it, and because of that you'll never race again." And then they do this whole thing where he's getting his hopes up and he's trying to find the thing, yada yada yada. And the whole time I'm just thinking, there's no one who makes custom parts in this entire world.
I mean,
there's no one who can do this, because the question was brought up, okay, you can just make me a new one. And then Dottie is like, That's impossible.
She sure does say that.
Spoiler alert, there's a person who does custom parts.
Yeah.
They just don't call it that. Okay, so his gearbox is busted, which I think the description of the movie says his engine, but his gearbox is busted, and he decides, all right, I can no longer be an athlete, so I will be a firefighter. An extremely physically demanding job.
Famously unstrenuous job, fighting fires.
Famously easy to do physically, being a hero.
Yeah, first he catches his airport on fire. He does, in fact, catch his airport on fire, which leads to this decision. But they're gonna shut down the airport in Prop Wash Junction if they don't get a second firefighter on the scene. So he's like, I'll go learn how to be a firefighter. How hard could it be? He doesn't say that. He probably respects how hard it will be at some point.
I don't know. He acts like it's gonna be no deal. Like, this is fine. I mean, again, the man cannot increase his torque to like a high level. Not like dangerously high, just a high level. Meaning this guy basically, he can't, what I would assume is run or sprint. Or a man who can't run or sprint decides, you know what, I'm gonna be this very physically demanding job that I don't respect because the only person in my entire town who does this job is at least 60, 70 years old.
Yeah.
This movie came out in 2014. And he said something along the lines of in 56.
Yeah.
So
he's an old man.
He's a super old man. He's like 70 years old, at least.
He's also a fire truck who wears glasses, but we don't have time to get into that right now. So he goes up to like this national park, and he's with this like really like underfunded firefighting team that keeps the forest safe. And they're like, we'll train you. And he gets a second, also grumpy mentor, which was one of my predictions that came true. And he's very bad at fighting fires the whole movie. And there's this like hotel. It's called the Fusil Lodge, which is a fantastic joke. I will give them that. That is a really good pun. And the fire's getting towards the fuselage, and there's this guy who runs the park, and he's like, no, I'm going to steal the water from the firefighters to keep my lodge from burning down. And then the people get trapped, and they have to save them, and he almost dies, but he doesn't. And then he gets a new gearbox, and he can be a racer and a firefighter, because there are no consequences in these movies.
Quick absurd statement.
Yes.
That man is fired, for stealing water from the firefighters.
Yes, he is.
But then he's still allowed to work for a national park.
He is transferred. I don't even think he's fired, because he's still working within the national park system.
How hard is it to get fired and, not allowed to endanger people's lives in this universe?
He steals water from firefighters. That's... Like, I understood how absurd it was when it happened, but, like, in my head I was like, it's just an absurdly, like, villainy thing to do. And then I'm just thinking about it.
That's the most ridiculous statement that one could ever say about someone who isn't, like, arrested. He steals water from firefighters after delaying a retreat that would have an evacuation that would have saved lives. He didn't evacuate them, which probably should be illegal.
Yeah.
No, not probably. It should be illegal. Probably is illegal. And then he steals water from firefighters.
And it should
almost killing hundreds.
Yeah, like these people are very close to dying for like the last half of the movie. It's pretty bonkers.
Several of which very, very influential, famous people.
Yeah. Boat Reynolds is in this movie, which, gosh, that feels like a joke we've made in this podcast already, but I don't think it is.
Boat Reynolds, so good.
Again, They are really good at puns in these movies. I will give them that 9 out of 10 times. Some of them are stupid, like Knoxville. That's not a thing that's associated with cars enough to be a city, but Fuselage and Boat Reynolds are fantastic.
We're talking about good puns. Okay, so there's George Lexus, the director of
Ah, yeah.
Howard the Truck. So good. So good.
Yeah, Howard the Truck is a thing that they decided to put in that movie, huh?
I mean, but is it though? They confirmed that movie is like a thing, but then they didn't watch that. They watched recorded over VHS, which so many questions about a cop drama in which the cops are also firefighters, which weird, and also super famous actor becomes a firefighter, which real cool. But like, there are just so many famous people that seem to. Okay, so like, what's up with money in this universe?
It's weird.
Okay, so let's
That's all I got.
let's stop with that tangent for a bit. We'll come back to it after we
Yeah.
talk about this movie. All right, so it's a fairly short movie.
84 minutes.
The animation was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and especially
I was very pleased with the just visuals of this film.
especially for like what did you say 2014? Like
Mm-hmm.
it was a pretty film. I'll give it that fully.
The sound editing, great. Like,
Sure.
man, when he like flew into that fire, the muffling silence, it really put me into like a tense, just emotional spot, and I loved that. And there were just so many times where like soundtrack, very like, I liked it a lot. I liked a lot of the decisions they made. In general, a well executed film.
Specifically with the soundtrack, the credits song, I will say the like airport romance song was pretty bad. But I guess I'll go ahead and talk about why I didn't like this movie.
Okay.
As I've already said, Dusty Crophopper is a bad firefighter for the whole movie. It's the opposite of the problem I had actually with Planes. In Planes, he was fantastic at it the whole time.
It did not make sense.
But in this, he's just a bad firefighter the whole time. He doesn't listen to orders. He constantly drops his flame retardant at the wrong heights and wrong amounts and on the wrong things. It never. And he doesn't like improve. He's just suddenly the hero at the end of the film. He suddenly does it right at the end. Like
and I'm going to disagree with that word, but keep going.
Sure. I don't know which word you're talking about, but
hero.
Okay, sure. That's fair enough. But like he's just suddenly a good firefighter at the end of the movie, and they're like, you get your certification, Dusty. When like all he's done is pour flame retardant on some random campers, and done it. He did it good 1 out of like 12 times, and he gets to be a certified firefighter. And then even past that, they're like, also, your physical disability's gone, so you can be a firefighter and a racer. Because, like I said earlier, there are no consequences whatsoever in this film.
I will definitely say there were some areas like that where they really missed the mark.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say this is a good movie, but I will say
I understand that
it's a better than average movie. But that's with me assuming that the average movie is
pretty bad. Okay.
All right. So one important thing is I want to disagree with the word hero, because there were many heroes in that film. All of the other firefighters, heroes. Dusty, I don't feel comfortable calling him a hero.
Me neither, man.
What do you like? What was something they specifically said in this film that applies to a hero? They fly into danger when other people are running from it to save people that they don't even know. I don't believe, like, I don't feel like Dusty would have gone and saved those people if he didn't know them. He had a
Eh?
specific relationship with those people that he had developed, and he told them where to go, and that's why they were in danger. He didn't even mention, hey, don't go there now because, fire. Wait till it's been taken care of, like a responsible firefighter would have said.
He's such a
No, he
bad
just
firefighter.
tells them where to go, which is a very dangerous spot, and they're also, like, they pointed out that they're kind of older vehicles, so it might be rough for them, which also, apparently they're action heroes because, man, their superhero, like, bridge jump was pretty intense.
Yeah.
But he felt a need to save them because he was kind of responsible for them and also knew them. He was familiar and responsible for, like, them being there. And this movie did not present him in a way that made me feel that he would have gone either way.
Yeah, I agree with all of what you're saying. You're sort of arguing my point of it's a bad movie. I feel like in this moment, but
I mean, there are definitely problems with it. I'm just saying that there are pros and cons, and I liked the pros enough to, like, eke out, okay, it's better than average. Because, like, again, there are, like, some glaring faults with this movie. Like, no consequences, and, oh, permanency isn't a thing. Because in this
yeah,
universe, you can either die or be perfectly fine. Because you know what
yeah,
happened
that's
several times? Someone almost died, but then was perfectly fine. In fact,
yeah,
our
yeah.
hero of this film, our protagonist of this film, at the end, he almost dies, and guess what? He comes out better than new. He comes out with an improved engine.
He does not just fix the damage from crashing in a burning forest fire that he had. Dusty crashes in a burning forest fire. It's pretty awesome. I thought he was going to die for like half a second,
I would have
which
respected
I
this
thought
movie
was
so much if he had.
John. If Dusty Cropper had died, this movie would have been an 8 for me. Uh,
I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, agreed.
uh, like that's a joke, but like honestly, it would have solved a lot of my problems with this movie. Also,
I'm gonna go ahead and
so
say, not a joke for me. If this movie had, like, that much courage behind it, it gets an 8 for me. Oh,
that's yeah. But yeah, they not only fix the damage from being burned alive in a forest for a while and crashing into this burning forest. There's like, oh, also the inciting incident of the movie in which you can't be a racer. Eh, you're fine. Everything's cool, man. I'm I guess he's a doctor. Would you call that character the
I
doctor
would call
mechanic
him a
tiny
mad
car?
scientist.
Yeah, okay.
Uh, man, so okay. I like the character. I like the fact that he's just this guy who loves fixing and all that jazz. But also, that character, like, disrespects, like, not him being a disrespectful person. No, his character existing disrespects a character from the first film who was, like, supposed to be, oh look, representation, that's positive. It's an extremely capable person in a field, and they just took that away from her.
It's a yeah.
I'll,
I see what you're saying.
it's important to have representation. She is a woman in a science, technology, engineering, like, that field. She's in a STEM field, and it's
and she's
important
good at it.
that she is, like, she was phenomenal at it. It's important that you don't make her bad at her job.
Yeah,
And you know how to make her bad at her job? Saying something is impossible when some other guy does it and saves the guy's life at the same time, just casually.
yeah. That was weird. It was a weird choice to have Dottie, who is cool and a really important part of the first film, be one upped by this character we just met.
And
Not even one upped, like 8, 12 upped.
And I would have almost been okay with something that explained it and didn't just make her bad at her job. Like, I would have loved something like, oh, she's been working on this the whole time, and it's only because of her coming to help that I was able to do this, because it's an extremely specific part, and she knows how much it means to you, and she's been trying, and she did it because she's specifically an expert on you. That would be great. Or maybe even, like, you point out the fact that she's a much younger vehicle, so she's got less experience, so like the experience could be the issue. And like, don't have her say, oh, that's not possible. Have her say, I don't feel comfortable doing this on my own until I've got more experience, so it'll be a while. Something along those lines. That's okay. But having her just be incapable and also claim that it's impossible, and then just some guy casually fixes that while saving his life. Not even just fixes it while the guy's life is on the line because he's that good. That's just
Because
so
he's got the time.
disrespectful. So disrespectful.
He's already in there. Might as well do it. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you're saying about that. There's a Native American helicopter who they don't do a great job with, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Okay, so they did cast a Native American. Uh,
Yes.
that's good. He
It's a
is
fantastic start.
very stereotypical. Bad. He's a stereotype.
Like,
Bad. Like if the person who was the voice had free reign over it, and I find that out, I'm going to be a lot more comfortable with it. But as it stands, I
yeah,
have to assume that,
I doubt that was the case.
as was in Planes the First, it's just, oh, look, stereotype, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, it's the exact same problem Planes had. They have a character who is not white, and they're like, let's just make them all, and like, it's not like the most offensive portrayal of Native Americans I've ever seen, and well, like, I don't know, make him a normal person.
Yeah, and they also did the thing that they
Yeah.
did with, is it Hinduism or Islam?
Hinduism is what we talked about
Right.
last time.
They did the same thing where they took a like folklore slash mythos slash
Yeah, okay.
religious story, and then they just turned it into planes, because that's great.
Yeah, they certainly did. I didn't even. I sort of tuned out for that little bit, but they now that I'm thinking about it, they certainly did.
So again, many problems with
Huh.
this film, many glaring problems.
I'm gonna be level with you. My goal is to get you down to a 5 by the end of this discussion.
I mean, gonna be honest, if I don't focus on the positive, it's gonna be hard not to go down.
Yeah, man.
Because like during the movie, like I was very aware of the fact that this just felt like a well-made movie, like clear issues and all that jazz, because like every movie has those clear issues, but like again, there are just so many positives, and especially when you're comparing it to the first one, like it's significantly better.
Yeah.
In the first Planes movie, he's kind of a hotshot who is like being discouraged by others. He's really good. He knows he's really good. He's arrogant. He doesn't listen all that much to orders and all that jazz. And he only gets better. And he doesn't have to really overcome anything until the very end. And that's only because of a problem that happens because other people, like, punish him for doing well. But it's never really his hubris that's punished. He's just amazing, and he's only ever validated in how good he is. There's never the thought of I'm not good enough. And like in this movie, it was, oh, he has to actually learn that he can't do something. He has to learn that he has limitations that he will not overcome. He cannot overcome. And then they ruined it.
They certainly did. Yeah. Okay. That's very much my problem with the movie. That they could have even made it like a cool story about disability, about
Yeah, that would have been great.
about learning to live with, and oh gosh, and from the beginning when they introduced that, I just had this feeling of like, they're gonna fix this. So the whole
They're
time,
gonna
whenever,
fix it.
yeah, whenever they were like, "Oh, I can't red line, or this light will beep and I'll crash," I was like, "Yeah, for now, and whatever, you'll be fine." 10 minutes from the end of the film, and lo and behold,
That is how these work.
yeah,
Uh, man, I wish this movie had a bit more courage.
gosh, again,
What I
had
was
they murdered Dusty Cropopper, much like if they had killed Lightning McQueen in Cars 3, can you imagine? Movie of the century.
Absolutely. Okay, but like I was hopeful because obviously the movie's not going to have that much courage, and obviously the movie's going to like give him his new gearbox and he's fixed. I was hoping what it would be is that he chooses to remain a firefighter once he's
Yes,
fixed.
exactly. I was thinking that's how they were going to do it while still giving him
I
everything.
thought it was going to be a nice, he realized that it's much more important to like try and help people than to just fly for glory. But no,
He's just doing both.
he gets the best of every single world.
He's just
He gets to be a racer and a firefighter, and he can just take off whenever he wants and race, and that's not going to be a problem for anyone for some reason. And
yeah. Wasn't the whole point that they needed 2 firefighters on duty? How can he just go around the whatever? Ugh.
And also the super old man just gets fixed up and he's just amazing again?
Yeah, he's just
What? Why does old age mean nothing in these movies except when it means something, which it doesn't really mean anything?
It doesn't. Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. It doesn't mean anything until they decide it does sometimes.
And then it still doesn't.
Yeah. Yep. You want to do like our fun, like how we talk about how the movie has weird implications? To mostly just...
Lucas, I can't. I
Okay.
just can't. Do you know how many things there were in this film alone that are just earth-shattering?
John, they went inside him. They went inside him multiple times.
They went inside him.
How do
and
we
that's
go?
in like the first few minutes of the movie. They went inside him. Hey Lucas.
Yeah.
There are Roombas. There are Roombas.
They certainly were. That was, yep. They were cleaning.
Hey Lucas.
Yeah.
Hey
Sure.
Lucas.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
There are toy plane birds. They had the rubber band even.
Yeah.
They had the rubber band.
Like you make sometimes. Yeah, they certainly
Hey
did.
Lucas.
Yep.
They had antlers. Those weird wildlife tractors had antlers. It was just headlights, but they... Hey Lucas.
They were John Deere. That was the joke. Go ahead.
They were John Deere. Hey Lucas.
Yeah, go ahead.
The old man made a TB joke. And TB also didn't mean anything in this universe because that's not what TB is, but also, Rusty's, he had a weird disfiguration of his genitals, and he showed it to him, and we know it's the genitals even though it's not the genitals, because he was showing off his taint, and they were disgusted, because it was old man taint, and he had a probably terrible disfigured scar, because he had a hole rusted through it, and then he just used ointment to fix it?
I didn't
Hey,
catch
Lucas,
that.
he had
That
leprosy and he fixed it.
We have talked about the magic leprosy ointment. To be fair,
Yeah, but he put ointment on it and the part fixed itself.
yeah,
We talked about how it was ointment that helped. I didn't know that it was like Miracle Grow for mechanical parts, which also, I don't know if they're squishy bit because like there was so much mechanical.
yeah. We
They
certainly
went inside him.
We didn't see any squishy bit when they went inside him and showed. They showed how his engine broke. They showed his
They
engine
showed
breaking.
specifically the gearbox, and they showed the gear which had a fracture in it. Which, so many questions. Oh man, there's so many implications from this film. There were roads. They drilled through.
There were.
Like, they dug out a hole through a tree because, we could drive through the tree. But also, they dug out another one.
Which is a thing that actually did.
Yeah. But what about this one where they dug out another one higher up for planes? Why would you do that?
They did cut a hole in a tree so planes could fly through it, as opposed to above or around it.
Why would you do that? That's just...
was a weird little moment.
Such a bad idea.
I did write that down.
Okay, so that implication's dumb and weird and bad.
Have you calmed down a little bit?
No, because you know our theory that the construction equipment was dinosaurs? There was construction equipment and they were just people.
And they parachuted a lot.
And they were aerial acrobaticists who were also... And also, everyone has so many jobs and can just do whatever they want. And also, there was a guy working out, the lumberjack, who was also the Native American, who was also... come on! You can't be everything!
Oh, he was physically exercising. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, he was just lifting logs, doing, like, reps. Like, okay, that's a thing in this universe. Exercise is a thing. Also... old age matters, but it doesn't matter, and you can work out, but also just have your parts replaced, and what does anything mean in this universe? They don't have to work out the squishy bit. That's clear in this film. They had the people who have all this actuation, all this movement with their specialty parts, and it's just parts. It's just mechanical parts specifically. His propeller, the tires that can easily be changed, everything about that is mechanical. You do not need to work it out. Honestly, all you're going to do is introduce fatigue. You're just wearing out your parts. You're only making them worse. Working out in this universe, if it's not just to gain skill, is only a bad thing because they are mechanical.
Yeah.
Unless for some reason the metal is some sort of biomechanical mass, which still is nonsense, because if that's true, it can grow and replicate, and then it's some weird nano machine idea where you can just, oh look, it repairs itself and makes itself better constantly, which means that all of this plot makes no sense because his machine parts could have just healed themselves. You don't need specialty parts. That doesn't make any sense. So none of that needs to exist. So
I want to say one. You've said 80. You've said 80. Film. I get one.
No, say so many, because there are so many left.
That's true. They did say the words "we'll suffocate," so breathing is triple confirmed. We've confirmed that several times, but they keep doing it.
Yep, but they didn't need breathing gear when they were just going through smoke.
They had a wall of dead planes, which I thought was very weird. It wasn't weird. It was a memorial to the fallen. It wasn't like a weird thing, but like it was a weird thing to have in the kids' movie. Especially when it was revealed. Okay, so you remember the show with that the helicopter was on. The helicopter was on a show called Chops, which is a parody of a real show called Chips. He had a partner in it, and they introduced this idea by having Dusty come in and do a secret drinking game while they watched it and laughed about it and were like, oh, this is so fun and cool. Our boss was in a thing. And then later, and they were like, you can't talk to him about it, though. And he was like, okay, I don't know why. And then later, they were just like, oh, yeah, his partner who was in the thing, he died doing a stunt on the show, and Blade blames himself. That's why you can't talk to him about it. So why would you do a drinking game and have, like, hey, look at this man who's dead from this show and was, like, the best friend of one of our close coworkers and friends and found family. That was a really weird choice they made. Moving on, Howard...
Also, drinking game.
Yeah, they did do a drinking game.
Just gonna say that.
They took a chug of oil every time he got his hoist out, which was funny but weird. A quick one. Howard the Truck still had the egg.
Howard the Truck
still had the egg on the cover. So eggs are a thing that they know about and things can come out of, because it was coming out of it. The truck was either coming out or going into the egg. I can't remember.
Coming out, I believe.
Yes, this one I am shocked you haven't mentioned. The old couple who got almost burned alive at the end of the movie that we've mentioned talked about...
Gained weight?
Well, yes, that also, but they talked about he got his wife a pair of white-walled tires for their honeymoon, their honeymoon, and he said, "Yeah, we sure wore out the tread on those on our honeymoon." And everyone
Uh-huh.
stops talking for a second, implying like, "Oh, this couple we just met just made a weird sexual reference to their sexcapades during their honeymoon," and then they go on to say, "From driving," which is a weird punchline. Of course, they would whatever, but that does imply that sex in this universe, it makes sense that it would wear the tread on your tires. So we need to
Maybe
rethink sex a
kinky?
little bit.
I mean, we need to rethink sex because the whole John Deere antlers thing, they were headlights.
Yeah. Well,
They were headlights.
but
Also, old
only
man
male.
firefighter taint.
That's true. But only male deer have antlers, so it's still a signifier of gender or sex.
I mean, headlights on the ladies were tetas.
I didn't like you saying that. I'll be the first to say it. This one's a small one. I couldn't, until I looked it up on the wiki, I couldn't have told you whether the Grumpy Mentor's name was Blade or Blaze for the entire movie. I could not tell what they were saying, nor did I care to listen enough to figure it out. We did talk about the Roombas. Are the Roombas sentient? Would you say that
Yep.
or were they animals?
They looked like they were like specifically like maid butler types cleaning the floor and aware of it.
So they were made. What if they were just Roombas and they just have Roombas that are like not sentient robot vacuums in their universe? They had eyes though, didn't they? Yeah. Okay.
They had eyes.
Huh.
Yep.
We gotta talk more about the Roombas at some point, but we gotta keep going for now.
Yeah.
Oh, Boat Reynolds was in the movie Best Little Boathouse in Texas, which is a reference to the musical. Liz, is Best Little Whorehouse a musical? Liz?
Huh?
Is Best Little Whorehouse a musical?
Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, yes.
Thank you.
It's also a movie.
Thank you, Liz. That was a question too, Liz. I don't know. It's weird that they reference something with the word whorehouse in it in the movie Planes, Fire, and Rescue.
Yep.
I'm running out of steam, but there's more to go. The firefighter farted for like a long time. The old one in the town, he did a big fart.
I got a new horn.
It was extended, longer than John's doing. I don't care however long John goes. Add like, I don't know, like 5-10 seconds on it. It was too long. But also
It was too long, but it was hilarious.
they do.
But it wasn't hilarious because it happened. It was hilarious because of what happened immediately after, where it was just like, yeah, I'm gonna confirm that was not a horn. I have not put the horn on yet.
I know it didn't sound like a siren or a horn. I need you to know that was a fart, audience, is what they did, basically. But the cars do fart, which may have been a thing we knew. I can't tell you what we know and don't know anymore. We went inside a plane.
Yeah, Mater's like backfired before that was a fart.
But that one was a backfire. It sounded like a backfire. This was just a fart.
Yep.
It didn't make any sort of car noise. It was a fart.
This one was just like a
very
weird,
extended fart.
Non-metallic, somewhat wet fart.
And it like crescendoed and decrescendoed and it not unlike a siren, which is what he was claiming it was, but
this movie, so many things.
Yeah.
Lucas, we went inside of him.
We did go inside the plane, John, and we saw. And I'm not gonna go so far to say that means Squishy Bits isn't real. We didn't see like an entire cross section of Dusty. There could be a Squishy Bit in there somewhere.
Exosuit with Squishy Bit still works.
100% does. But like we did go inside of this living being in like a not what I didn't find fun way. A very distressing way.
I found it fun just because I love mechanics. Like, that was beautiful to me.
This one again, a good joke. At the bar they were at, they had little cups of bar nuts, but they were like, you know, like nuts that go on mechanics.
Like car nuts,
Like, well, no,
lug nuts,
yes, sure,
like and bolts.
yes. Uh,
They weren't truck nuts.
no,
were
they weren't truck nuts. Although, again, that would gotten it up to a 9 if they put truck nuts in those. But
truck nuts, and he dies.
yes, 12 out of 10. But let's see. That means they eat them, right? They eat the. That's the
It
implication.
could be decorative. Who knows?
That's fair, but it didn't seem
Who
like
knows?
the kind of bar that would have decorative centerpieces.
I mean, from Cars 2, we gathered that they eat nuts.
Yeah,
so...
I was going to mention there was the sushi place with the sign that had the nut on it, or the gear or whatever it was. But we haven't talked about them eating metal in a really long time, and that sort of reconfirms that they eat both metal and organic foods.
They eat corn, or at least have corn.
Maybe they worship it. They were having
What would it be for? To make fuel, I guess. That person dressed as corn, so if they worship it, it's not like a taboo to do that, I guess.
Yeah, they were very, very concerned that the corn festival was canceled. And, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would be concerned if my favorite festival was canceled. So, like, it doesn't have to be a weird religious thing. But they did have a person who had worked on their corn costume all year, and it was a plane in a corn costume. And that was the sort of moment in the movie, huh? That they had a plane in a corn costume?
Yeah. So many questions.
Several of the situations in this movie, I will give you this, felt very perilous. Like, very legitimately dangerous.
Yes.
Like, I knew nothing was going to happen.
But then, no stakes.
Yeah, like, it was a weird thing. Like, I was like, these people could very much die who are trying to evacuate, and path has been blocked by fire on all sides. They're not going to. But man, this is like a scary situation they've put these characters in. Good job, I guess. I didn't like the movie very much, John. But I will say, outside of like the shorts, we've seen them.
We've seen
all
the movies.
Gosh, I'm so tired. This one took it out of me in a way. Like, I will say, a lot of the time I go into the podcast sort of tired, and it energizes me a lot. This time I came in with some energy, and I'm just drained.
I came in with a little bit of energy. I got a whole lot when I just started, like, going on a tear. And then I was like, well, I should give Lucas the ability to also mention some of these insane implications. And then I was just like, man, this movie, it's so many things. And I got real tired.
Yeah,
real fast.
I probably edited it down a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so many things.
We have new things to talk about in subsequent episodes. Let's look at it like that.
I haven't even, like, really gotten into how much the economy doesn't make any sense in these films.
John, we didn't get into anything except our feelings of the movie and, like, shouting about things for a while. Not to say we won't in the future, but, like, we didn't go in very depth in this one, which is fine.
Time for a fact, I guess.
Oh, shoot! You didn't do them facts, you're right.
Mayday is a distress signal used commonly by aircraft and seacraft. That's a fact.
That one could be a fun and not very fun, because you don't want to be in Mayday. Mayday is
I'm counting it as both.
The reason that's a thing is because there's a character named Mayday. He's the very, very old the fire truck who wears glasses. Gosh, he wears glasses the whole movie.
Another implication, like, both of those things are implications that I'm not comfortable with. Of he wears glasses, is there firefighter, and also his name is a distress call.
Yeah,
He's a firefighter, a land vehicle, which not a seacraft or aircraft, and he's named a distress call for those two. And he's a firefighter for specifically like a landing strip, which is
Yeah. That could cause some
which
confusion,
seems
huh?
like just. I feel like that feels like this universe's version of like a person who is named like in a very racially insensitive way.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. I want to stop talking about this. Final thoughts. Final thoughts about Planes, Fire, and Rescue. Did I make you like it less?
Go for 5.
Yes! Planes, Fire, and Rescue is a movie in which Dusty Cropopper burns down his airport and does a bad job becoming a firefighter. That's
The
my one
I
sentence
think it's
review.
a well-made film, like technically,
Sure.
but artistically it's bad.
Yes. To get you to say that is what I wanted.
Nothing has permanence, which like I went into this episode feeling that way, but like it became more important to me as I
Not-
realized like okay, sure it could be well made, but like man, they did some dirty things in this movie.
Certainly did. We need to wash it off with a fire hose. That wasn't a very good joke. Let's end the podcast now.
All right.
Thanks so much for listening. It was cool that you did that.
Please like, comment, subscribe, rate. Don't die, I guess. Please correct us. You did a real bad job,
Yeah.
everyone listening. You didn't correct us.
Who knows what other nonsense we've been spouting as if it was fact.
No one's gonna correct us, it seems. So like we could be
Yeah,
just
that was a
spouting the
self-correction.
worst of rhetoric. Because oh man. Come on, fans.
I do want to say, again, if you want to submit a name for the wiki quote segment, do that. This one was submitted, the Boogity 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 Let's Go Wiki Quoting Boys, was submitted by a friend of the podcast, Rob Miller. So thank you, Rob, for that. You said the other stuff. I'm Lucas.
And I'm John.
Flow like Cadillac.
Sting like a beamer.